They were laughing. I could hear it clearly, even over the music. And deep down, I knew they were laughing at me. I tried to ignore it, but the sound stayed in my head. My name is Leo, and 10 years after we graduated, I came back for our school reunion. I remember thinking it would feel familiar, maybe even warm. I didn't know it yet, but that night would change everything. I sat at a fancy rooftop bar, high above the city. My simple jacket felt too thin in the cold night air. I looked around and felt small, almost invisible. I thought, why did I come here? But they didn't know the truth. They didn't know why the hotel manager kept looking at our table, and they definitely didn't know why I wasn't worried at all. I remember when Mark and I were best friends. We grew up on the same street, only 3 houses apart. After school, we rode our bikes until it got dark. We talked about everything, even our dreams. I remember thinking, we will always be brothers. We promised each other that nothing would change. We planned to start a business together one day. Back then, life felt simple, and hope came easily. I felt safe when Mark was around. I thought the future was already decided for us. But promises are easy to make when you are young. When I was 17, everything changed. My father lost his job, and our family lost everything soon after. I remember the day he came home early. He sat down and said nothing. I felt a heavy silence in the room. Suddenly, I could not afford new clothes anymore. I could not go out for pizza with friends. I had to leave school and find work. I started fixing cars, cleaning offices, and doing anything I could. I remember thinking, this is not the life I planned. Mark's life continued, but mine stayed still. He went to college and met new people. He posted photos from parties and trips. I saw them on my old, cracked phone screen, late at night. I remember holding the phone and feeling small. I stopped answering his calls because I felt ashamed. I thought, what can I say to him now? The silence between us grew bigger every year. That night at the reunion was the first time I saw him in 10 years. I hoped things could be different. I felt a small hope rise again. I was wrong. Mark leaned forward with a wide smile. His voice was loud and friendly, but it felt sharp to me. Leo, long time no see. Wow, you look exactly the same, he said. Then he asked about my job, still smiling. So, what are you doing now? Still working with your hands? Fixing things? I felt every eye at the table turn toward me. I looked down at my simple clothes and nodded. I didn't want to fight. Something like that, I said quietly. Inside, I thought, keep calm. Just breathe. For a moment, the tension broke. Sarah, a quiet girl I remembered from school, sat down beside me. She spoke softly and looked me in the eyes. It's good to see you, Leo, she said. How is your mother? Her voice felt real, not sharp. I felt a small warmth in my chest. I thought, maybe it will be okay. I thought, maybe not everyone here has changed. I held on to that feeling, even if it felt fragile. Then the mood shifted again. Jessica pointed at my phone on the table and laughed. Oh, Leo, is that your phone? It looks like a museum piece. Ben laughed with her and raised his glass. I'm surprised you can even afford the drinks here, Leo. This place is expensive. They were making fun of me, and they didn't even hide it. Jessica laughed too, but her eyes quickly looked away. For a second, she seemed uncomfortable. Each word felt like a small stone hitting my chest. I thought, don't react. Mark joined in again, this time with a calm voice. He was always good at saving money, he said. Remember that school science fair? He smiled like it was a joke. Leo built his project from trash and still won first prize. He beat my expensive kit. His words sounded kind, but his eyes didn't smile. Then he laughed, and shrugged. I guess some people are just born to work with their hands, Leo. Someone has to clean the floors, right? My fingers tightened around the glass. I said nothing. I felt my jaw lock, and I stared at the table. I thought, they looked down on me then, and they do it now. I needed a break. I picked up my glass of water and felt the cold against my skin. I took a slow drink and focused on my breathing. I didn't look at them. I turned my head and looked out the window. The city lights were far below us, quiet and steady. Each light felt like a small story, a life moving on. I felt a strange, calm return. I thought, stay still, don't walk away yet. I wanted to stand up and leave. I wanted to disappear into the night. I remember thinking, this was a mistake. Then my eyes stopped on a large painting on the far wall. I felt my breath slow. Something about it felt familiar. I thought, wait. I remembered something important, something I had almost forgotten. I knew, in that moment, that I had to stay. My eyes stayed on the painting across the room. It was abstract, full of deep blues and soft gold lines. The longer I looked, the more familiar it felt. I remember buying it 5 years ago at a small gallery. I remember the smell of paint and dust in that place. I bought it for the lobby of my first hotel. As I stared at it now, my breath slowed. I thought, why is it here? A strange feeling moved through my body. My hands stopped shaking on the table. The tight pain in my chest slowly faded. I felt my shoulders drop without thinking. The noise around me felt far away. I remember thinking, this changes everything. The shame I carried for years felt lighter. The anger inside me grew quiet. In its place, I felt a deep and steady calm. I sat still and took one slow breath. This was my hotel. These were my walls. They were guests in my house. I thought, if I had left that night, this would be a story about pain. But I stayed, and that changed everything. I felt my heart beat slow. I felt my feet press firmly into the floor. I felt ready. Right then, I decided to stay and watch the final act of their little play. The party was ending, and the noise slowly changed. Mark stood up and clapped his hands loudly, smiling wide. "Okay, everyone, the bill is on me tonight," he said. "A celebration for our success." He looked straight at me when he said the word success. I felt my back press against the chair. I thought, here it comes. My hands rested still on the table, and I said nothing. Just as Mark pulled out his credit card, a man in a sharp, dark suit walked toward us. It was the hotel's general manager. Mark's chest puffed out, and he smiled even bigger. He looked proud, like a king waiting for praise. I watched quietly and felt my breathing slow. I thought, stay calm. The manager did not look at Mark at all. He walked past him and stopped right beside me. The manager bowed his head slightly and spoke in a clear, calm voice. "Mr. Thorne," he said, "is everything to your satisfaction tonight? Shall I have your car brought around?" For a second, no one laughed. Even the music felt wrong. Every face at the table froze. Smiles stayed open but empty, like broken masks. I felt the room go silent. Complete silence. Mark's face changed in seconds. The proud smile disappeared, and confusion filled his eyes. His skin turned pale, almost white. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. His hand shook as he pointed at me. "Thorne," he said slowly, "your name is Leo. Thorne." I watched his face change, and I stayed silent. His whole body seemed to shrink into the chair. The expensive suit he wore suddenly looked cheap and too big for him. He leaned back and stared at the table. His credit card lay there, useless and ignored. He did not look at me again. I saw his shoulders drop and his breath became short. I thought, this is the moment he feared. The hero of the night had become a fool in just a few seconds. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to explain anything. I simply gave a small nod to the manager and spoke calmly. Yes, please, thank you. My voice felt steady, even to my own ears. No one at the table spoke after that. Some people looked down at their glasses. Others suddenly found something interesting on their phones. No one met my eyes, and the silence felt heavier than any words. I stood up slowly and straightened my simple jacket. The fabric felt rough under my fingers. I walked away from the table without saying a word. I didn't look back at their shocked faces. I remember thinking, this is over. The noise of the party faded behind me. Each step felt lighter than the one before. I thought, keep walking, don't stop. The laughter, the music, the whispers, all of it felt a million miles away. I stepped into the private elevator, and the doors closed softly. The sound cut the room in half. The ride down was silent, and I could hear my own breathing. My shoulders slowly relaxed. I remember thinking, it's finally quiet. When the doors opened in the lobby, I paused for a moment. I took a deep breath, and the air felt clean and cool. I felt free in a way I never had before. The weight I carried for so many years was gone. It didn't disappear in anger or revenge. It faded in quiet truth, and I walked forward without looking back. It has been a year since that reunion night. I never heard from Mark or the others again. Life became quieter, and time moved in a softer way. I remember thinking, this is a new chapter. I sold that big hotel because it held too many old memories. I didn't feel sad about it. I felt ready to let it go. After that, I chose a different path. I started investing in small businesses, helping young people with big dreams. They reminded me of the boy I used to be. Then I opened a small, quiet bookstore in my old neighborhood. It didn't make much money, and some months were slow. I worked more hours than before, and some days the shop felt almost empty. Still, I remember thinking, this work feels honest. It made me happy in a simple way. One afternoon, a woman with a kind smile walked into my bookstore. It was Sarah. She bought a book for her son and looked around the shelves. We talked for a while, not about the past, but about today. The words came easily, without pain or pressure. I thought, this feels natural. Her kindness that night at the reunion was not forgotten. It reminded me that true connections are quiet, not loud. Sometimes, I stand behind the counter and watch people read. My life is simpler now, with fewer comforts and fewer shortcuts. I don't rush anymore. I remember thinking, this peace has a price, but it is worth it. My life isn't loud or flashy. It's quiet. It's simple. It's mine. When I see my reflection in the shop window, I notice a few more gray hairs, but my eyes are smiling. And to me, that is true success. That night taught me a powerful lesson I still carry with me. I learned that some people only see what they want to see. They judge you by your clothes, your phone, or your job title. I remember thinking, they never asked who I really was. I also understood that silence can be stronger than any answer. True success is not about being loud or showing off. It is about building your value quietly, step by step. Your worth does not depend on their opinion, and it never did. Leo's story feels personal because, in a world shaped by social media, judgment is everywhere. You are seen before you are known. People may look at your clothes, your phone, or your job and decide your value in seconds. You may have your own mark. It can be a person, a memory, or even a quiet voice in your head. That voice may say you are not enough. This story reminds you that, like Mark that night, some people judge fast and listen slow. There is also a lesson in how Leo responded. He did not argue. He did not try to prove anything with words. He focused on his path and kept moving forward. You can do the same. When criticism comes, invest your energy in progress, not in noise. Your work, over time, will speak for you. This is a calmer and stronger response. You can also think about what being rich really means to you. Mark believed it was about showing off. Leo learned it was about peace and purpose. For you, a rich life may mean time, freedom, or quiet happiness. It does not have to mean money alone. Finally, there is a lesson from Mark's mistake. Respect opens doors. When you treat people with respect, you build stronger connections. You never know who someone is or who they may become. Quiet confidence, kindness, and respect will always take you further. Before we end, I want to ask you something. Have you ever felt underestimated in your life? Even just once? I remember that feeling, and I know how heavy it can be. You don't need to share your whole story here. Just write a simple yes in the comments if you understand Leo's feeling, so we can remind each other that we are not alone. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like to help it reach more people. And if you want more stories like this, subscribe to Peak English Stories for a new story every week. Thank you for listening. Believe in your journey and take care.